I started the summer before my senior year, and I'm blessed to say I'm a 1L now at Stanford University's Cumberland School of Law. What's up, everybody? My name is Monroe, and you know by the title of this video that I'm going to be telling you about how to get in law school. I first had this idea of making this video because YouTube was a great resource for me, and as a black man, I didn't see a lot of black men making videos on YouTube. You know, and on YouTube, you can relate to a little bit better when the person is coming from a community that, you know, similar to the one that you grew up in, or you know, just more relatable. So I just hope that this video can reach somebody that hasn't had the resources that a lot of other people have. All right, a little bit about myself. I graduated from Savannah State University in Savannah, Georgia. Go Tigers. Last May. Yeah, so well, I guess I graduated. I didn't walk the stage though, but I got my degree. So let's go ahead and jump out into the video. You know, the first thing that you need to know is that trying to get into law school, you will need a 4-year bachelor degree. It's kind of no ifs, ands, or buts around that. I mean, that's just kind of like the baseline. Pretty much anywhere you go, that's what your the staple requirement is going to be. I'm going to debunk a myth real quick. A lot of people might tell you, you know, you need to major in political science, you need to major in history. You can be an attorney and have majored in any field that you want. You can major in marine biology if you want to, and become an attorney in biological law. You know, there's so many types of fields of law that you will have no idea, you know, how broad it is until you venture out and try to, you know, get that yourself or look it up and, you know, research, because it's going to be a lot of people that tell you that you need to do this, you need to do that, but you have way more options that you would ever imagine. I myself, I majored in English, like I said, so I plan on becoming a criminal defense attorney because, you know, with English, we study a lot of logic, a lot of reasoning, and you're going to need that, you know, when you're in a court and you're, you know, arguing in front of the judge, jury for your client. So that was my path, and you can do law school with any major. The next step of the process is going to be, of course, standardized testing. You probably heard of the LSAT. You probably don't know a lot of schools also accept the GRE now, so that might be a better option for many people. The LSAT is what I'm going to talk about because that's what I took, so I know more about the LSAT than the GRE. I don't know too much about it. The LSAT is a 175 multiple choice question test. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. But it's 175 multiple choice, scored from 120 to 180, and the average score is like 150, and it's even lower for minorities. And I say that to say, you know, if you're a minority watching this, like this test, this system, everything, that the world that you're about to step into was not designed for you, was not built for you. But you can't compare your numbers to your white counterparts, and don't compare your numbers to somebody else's. I told you the average just so you have an idea of, you know, where you match up, but don't let the numbers define you.
Don't let the numbers define you.
Like I didn't. It's pretty common to take the test more than once because typically people have a lot of anxiety. This test is, you know, needless to say, very important. But I say it at the same time, like, don't let it define you. Don't let the number on a piece of paper tell you who you are. Because I didn't, for myself, I had a friend who was very, very instrumental in my path to law school. Like when I tell you I did not do good on my first test, and I only took it once, so I did not like score as well as I did on my practice test, as well as I wanted to. So I was just like really appalled when I got my scores back, and I was just like, honestly, I was like, maybe I don't need to go to law school. Maybe it's something else out there for me. Like, I'm a Christian, so I was like, you know, maybe God, this is his sign to show me, to push me in a different direction, because it's just not for me. But I stuck it out. I talked to my friend, and she, you know, gave me a couple options. She told me to I could retest if I wanted. She told me whether I retest or not, still apply, because you never know. Like, don't put a question mark, we gotta put a period. And so I took her advice. I didn't take the test again, like I said, but I applied to the schools that I wanted to. And by the grace of God, I got in. I mean, I got in also with 2 scholarships. So I just said that not to brag, not to say, this is what you need to strive for, but just say, like, never give up on yourself. Because if I gave up on myself, I wouldn't be here in this position to try to help the next person. Because I'm more than grateful to her for trying to show me the ropes and help guide me on my way. Because she, did a lot to help me, and I would just love to be that for somebody else. Individuals, specifically in the minority community, we are at a setback. There's a learning curve. Like, we don't have grandparents, grandparents who were president of the bar association. We don't have that. So it's like we're starting from nothing. The next requirement that I'm going to talk about is letters of recommendation. This as third because it is probably the third most important aspect of trying to get into law school or applying to law schools, because this is basically how schools can determine, if you have the same GPA as somebody else or the same LSAT score as somebody else, your letter of recommendation will be what sets you apart in a good way or a bad way. If a teacher isn't very specific on, what made you a good student, and your letter of recommendation is very bland, it's very like cookie cutter, one size fits all, then it's not gonna really seem like the teacher knew you and seem like you really stood out in the class. And on the flip side, if your teacher is like, yes, I can specifically remember, where that student sat in the class because I knew if the class was having a hard time learning some concept, I knew I could look over there and call on them and they'll have the answer for me. Stuff like that resonates with the deans of admissions, because that's the type of people that they're looking for to have in their classes. You know what I mean? So, and I'm about to give you a couple keys, nuggets, gems, whatever you want to call them, that few people are going to tell you. Okay, so, and I had to learn this on my own. Like, it's just me right now. I think I might have needed like 3 or 4 recommendation letters, but I asked 6 or 7 people, and I gave them a deadline that was like a month and a half earlier than the actual deadline, and I asked them like 6 months in advance. And a couple of them probably thinking like, it's real far to be asking me about a letter that's due way in the future. But I just kept reminding them at least maybe once or twice a month, because I know how it is when you have a lot of stuff, and these are professors, presidents of institutions or deans. They have a lot of other things going on. So an essay or letter of recommendation can easily, slip down and down and down on their priority sheet. So you just got to keep on them and keep reminding them, and make sure that you ask more than what is necessary, just in case, one of them misses the deadline, or, anything. It's just insurance, so that you'll have the number that you need. For me, one of my professors, he got real busy and he forgot to write it, and I wasn't tripping on him, because I had already asked enough amount of professors to where if 3 or 4 of them decided they couldn't do it or forgot or whatever the case might be, I still had more than enough extras to take their place. But keep in mind, you don't want to ask, like I said, with the one size fits all. Make sure you ask a professor that knows you really well, or a community leader that knows you. I mean, it doesn't have to be a professor, but that is definitely somebody who works in your institution is definitely preferred. So just make sure that you are, just doing everything you need to do in a classroom. Maybe you aren't that outspoken person who calls out, raising their hand for every question. Maybe you aren't that person who comes to the professor's office every other day. But as long as you're doing your work and working hard, professors see that. So as long as you're working hard, you will be on the right track. And so you just need to, go ask your professor, because they're going to look out for people who they know aren't slackers and don't cut corners. You can also, if you're if you took a gap year or going to law school a couple years after undergrad, then you can also ask, a colleague or an employer or coworker to write you a letter and attest to your character and your work ethic. Especially if you lost touch with your professors because it's been so long. I also wanted to talk about personal statements. This is number 4. So, personal statement is basically your why letter, and you're going to be telling the law school why you want to be an advocate for social justice, social reform. Like, what do you want to do? Why you want to become a lawyer, and what do you want to do with that title, with that prestigious Juris Doctorate degree, with that esteemed Esquire behind your name? Like, what, you don't become an Esquire. Well, the goal is not to become an Esquire to be an Esquire. You know what I'm saying? Like, there should be something behind it. You shouldn't want to be a doctor so people can call you doctor. So the same goes for being an attorney. You are the gatekeeper between citizens and the law. Like, you make sure that your clients aren't taken advantage of, know their rights, and you, as an attorney, you have a lot of power, which is another reason why law schools, many law schools take so many steps to vet out their potential students, because they want to know that these aren't people who just want to be an attorney to make money, or want to be an attorney because you're not going to fulfill what it really means to be an attorney. You're supposed to be, an advocate for your clients, an advocate for citizens, and just having the title isn't enough. Like, for my sports fans, the people who go to the NFL just to say I'm an NFL player, like, you probably not going to do real well in the league. But people who go to the NFL because, they want to be the best ever, they were really good teammates in college and they did the best to help their team, those are the people who normally strive in the NFL, because it's not just about them. Their reason is much greater, and this same principle can be applied in almost every area of life, and especially the area of law. Like, you're not going into this just for yourself, and that is what the law school want to know. What the law schools want to know in your personal statement, they want to know that this is bigger than yourself. They want to know why it is bigger than yourself. But also keep in mind that some law schools, they have specific questions or prompts that they want you to answer or hit on in your personal statement. You can find those on their website, on their school's website. You can just look at, like, go under admissions and then go to that. You'll also see how many letters of recommendations they want as well. The dean of admissions could tell by, my personal statement, my why, that I wasn't somebody who was going to come to class and just go home and, become a lawyer and go to work and just go home. Like, no, there's a lot of other goals that aren't self-oriented that I want to, strive for and achieve while in the classroom and, in the community afterwards. Like, I want to make the classroom better, I want to make my school better, and afterwards I want to make my community better, the world better, and, see where it goes. All right, the best time to start this application process is definitely the freshman or sophomore year of your undergrad, but you can do it anytime. I started the summer before my senior year, and I'm blessed to say I'm a 1L now at Sanford University's Cumberland School of Law. So anything can be done as long as you work hard. You can start it right after you graduate. You can start 5 years after you graduate, 10, 20, 30. Like, you hold all the cards. And this part right here is especially to the Black men and women that see this video or come across, this YouTube. Is we need you guys in the legal field. Like, we are underrepresented. We need Black people representing Black defendants. So, if there's anything else that I like this video to, get through to whoever views it, is that if you want to be an attorney, you can be an attorney. Like, point blank, period. Like, that's just what I would like to, reiterate, because I know there are a lot of times where people doubt themselves and fear that they might not be smart enough, might not have the highest grades, might not have the best LSAT score. Like, everything on a piece of paper doesn't define who you are, doesn't define what you can overcome, doesn't define what you can achieve. With that being said, I want you to all like, subscribe, and comment. Give me any constructive criticism, what you liked about it, what you didn't like, what you might like for a next video title or content. And just share the video, because we need more Black people in the legal field. Thank you for your time.